Good afternoon, teachers. How are you? I hope your love for teaching is still intact despite the challenges and changes we encounter in this time of pandemic. It's true that life has changed when COVID-19 arrived, and no nation or industry has been spared. The pandemic quickly altered the way we communicate and engage with one another. In the education landscape, schools have adopted the distance education wherein teachers have to work from home and students have to learn from home. Aside from utilizing modules, schools have also introduced the use of virtual classrooms. And I think most of us here have attended webinars and trainings on how to go on with our virtual classes. Having been into trainings on creating a virtual classroom, what specific platforms or tools are you planning to use in your virtual classes? I think most of us will be using the Google Classroom, Zoom, Google Meet, Facebook, and others. It's good that you've already identified what to use to realize your virtual classroom. The question now is, how ready or prepared are you to use these online tools and applications? Are you not yet ready? A little ready? Almost ready? Or very ready? Most or might even all of us are not 100% ready yet. The virtual classroom is a new learning environment and it takes time to become familiar with it. Hence, it's no surprise that we teachers are still figuring out the best way to deliver our lessons and most importantly to engage students in learning. Thus today, let's journey together in learning some ways to create engaging learning experiences in the virtual classroom. These are our learning objectives. After this webinar, you are expected to identify ways in creating engaging learning experiences in a virtual classroom and explore common platform or tools to create engaging learning experiences in a virtual classroom. Before we look into creating an engaging virtual classroom, let us start with basic and important definitions. What is a classroom? Specifically, a traditional classroom. As the picture suggests, and as what we all know, a traditional classroom is a learning space in which the teacher provides face-to-face instruction to students and communication between and among teacher and students is face-to-face. Now, what is student engagement? In education, student engagement refers to the degree of attention, curiosity, interest, and passion that students show when they are learning or being taught. How do we know that students are engaged? Students are generally described as engaged when we see them perform, present, inquire, explain, and interact with the teacher and other students. Now, how do we relate these definitions to the concept of a virtual classroom? What is a virtual classroom? A virtual classroom is an online learning environment. It shares the same goal with a traditional classroom, which is to develop students' knowledge in a subject area. Thus, just like in a traditional classroom, the teacher delivers lessons and communicate with the students. However, there is no face-to-face interaction. Every learning activity happens online. Online learning can either be asynchronous or synchronous. In asynchronous virtual learning, the learner enriches their knowledge at their own pace at a time convenient for them. All available materials are accessible in the online platform throughout the learning period. The learner can study at a time during the day, choosing from video lessons and reading resources. The interaction between the students and the teacher is based on personal messages and emails. On the other hand, synchronous learning is the kind of learning that happens in real time. This means that teacher and students interact in a specific virtual place through a specific online medium at a specific time. Methods of synchronous online learning include video conferencing, live chatting, and live streaming lectures. With these definitions, We can say that a virtual classroom is more of the synchronous online learning which happens in a real time and provides the students with an experience very close to traditional face-to-face teaching. What are then the common tools which we can find in a virtual classroom? We have the video conferencing tools, online whiteboard for real-time collaboration, instant messaging tools, participation controls, breakout rooms, and others. Let's explore these tools as we discuss some ways on creating engaging learning experiences for our students. So let's get started. Here are some tips in creating engaging learning experiences in a virtual classroom. First is decide how you're going to communicate with your students. Communication in a virtual classroom requires more thought and planning. Thus, it is essential to decide first on how you're going to communicate with your students, and of course, you have to let them know about it. Discuss with them the answer to the following questions. First, what virtual classroom platform and communication channel will you use? Once you are done identifying the platforms that you'll use, proceed to the second question. What is the purpose of each platform? This is particularly important so as not to confuse your students. For example, you let them know that Zoom is for real-time class discussion, group chat in Messenger is for announcement or reminders, Google Classroom is for educational materials, assignments, and quizzes. Then the next question would be, how often can your students expect to hear from you? We have to consider that our students may not have internet connectivity daily, so it's necessary that we set when they have to be online, especially for real-time discussion through video conferencing. It's also important to remember that these online tools are new for students too, and they'll need guidance on how to use them. So, we should offer an orientation session that familiarizes students with a virtual classroom. This orientation session would lead us to our next tip on creating an engaging virtual classroom, which is to establish virtual classroom rules and expectations. We should create and share a set of guidelines for students on how they should behave while participating in a virtual classroom. And since we are aiming for students' engagement, we should involve them in creating these guidelines. Giving them a say will allow them to feel valued, and as they contribute to the classroom expectations, they are more likely to follow them. Guidelines may include student security online, time and attendance during classes, dress code, finding space with no distractions if possible, and other guidelines during classes such as turning on the video and audio, putting the microphone on mute until being recognized to speak, using the different buttons to interact during discussions, and others. After coming up with a final list of rules, in a traditional classroom, we usually post them in our classroom wall. In a virtual classroom, we can also make use of different visuals that could help remind our students of these rules. You may simply encode the rules in a Word app, or you can be more creative by making a poster or a video and post it in your communication channel. Our next tip is to plan your virtual class. It's always necessary to go back to basic lesson planning. As we know, lesson plan is our roadmap of what students need to learn and how it will be done effectively in our class. When planning our lessons, we start by identifying the learning outcomes. Then, we plan for the learning activities and instructional materials that would lead us in attaining our objectives. If we intend to create an engaging learning experience, then we have to include interesting and interactive activities in our plan. However, we need to consider that learning in a virtual classroom is a huge task, especially for younger students who may find it daunting to sit before the screen for long hours. Therefore, we have to keep our learning activities short but substantial. This is the time to adopt the less is more approach. Lastly, we plan how to assess students' learning to check whether the objectives are being met. I know you would agree that when we plan our lessons, we face our class with more confidence. And since we are ready with the class activities, we also have greater chances of creating engaging learning experiences with our students. The next tip is to make use of multimedia. We, teachers, should spice up our lessons with visual content to make our class more engaging. Using multimedia helps our students to be more involved and retain more information from the lessons. One of the advantages of virtual teaching is that you can easily search for different materials online such as pictures, diagrams, audio, and video. In addition to what's available online, you can also create your own materials using the available free tools or applications. Here are some free tools or platforms which we can use in creating instructional materials. The most common tool which we use in creating presentations are the PowerPoint and the Google Slides. With their advanced features, we can come up with interactive presentation. We can even create captivating videos. And if you want to create awesome graphic designs, we can make use of Canva. Canva is a graphic design platform that allows users to create social media graphics, presentations, posters, documents, and other visual content. Another set of tools to create multimedia are the screen recorder. Screen recorders are used to record videos that teach how to do something on your computer step by step because they are extremely easy to follow. The students have the freedom to stop to understand what's going on whenever they want. Then we have the free tools for video editing. Video editing tools are very important for us teachers, especially in creating our pre-recorded teachings. Some of the free video editing tools are OpenShot, Filmora, and KeyMaster. So these are some examples of tools or platforms that we can use in creating multimedia for our virtual classes. Now that you are ready with your plans and your materials, the next step is related to how you would conduct your lessons. Make your virtual class interactive with different online tools. We should present our materials in an interactive way. To do this, we can make use of different free online tools or platforms that allow students to get engaged in the lesson. Video conferencing tools like Zoom and Google Meet make interaction easy with their extensive functionality. And I think most of us here will be using these platforms for our classes. So let's explore these applications and learn how to create engaging learning experiences through them. Let's start with Zoom. Zoom is a video conferencing software that allows you to set up virtual video and audio conferencing, live chats, screen sharing, and other collaborative capabilities. You don't need an account to attend a Zoom meeting. However, you need to have an account to create a meeting. Zoom has 4 pricing plans: the Zoom Basic, Zoom Pro, Zoom Business, and Zoom Enterprise. Among these 4 options, Zoom Basic is offered for free, which allows you to have unlimited one-on-one meetings. But video conferencing with more than 3 participants is limited to 40 minutes. For this tutorial, let's explore the Zoom Basic. To start with, let's create a Zoom account. To do this, open the browser of your choice and head to the Zoom website. Then, click Sign Up is Free button. As soon as you click that button, the first thing that you'll be asked for is an email address. One of the benefits of application website is that we can just click on Sign In with Google. So, I'll just use that button and it'll automatically going to register that account for me. We are now inside Zoom where we can see a couple of things. At the top, we can see the menu option. We can schedule a meeting, join a meeting, and host a meeting which we will be exploring today. On the left-hand side, you'll find a variety of options, including the first and perhaps the most important, which is your profile. This is where you can change your profile picture, edit your email or password, and make other changes in this settings section. Some of you might have wondered why other participants in this webinar have pictures on screen when they turn off their camera. Now this is the answer. You simply have to provide a profile picture in your account. Below your profile tab, you'll find a summary of your meetings. You can have an overview of all your upcoming meetings, previous meetings, and we have a number of meeting templates to use. This time, I'm going to click Host a Meeting. You may choose any of these options here. Let me click Host a Meeting with video off. Just click Open Zoom Meetings. Now, I've successfully created a meeting. In the bottom left part of the screen, you have the option to mute or unmute your microphone, as well as to turn on or turn off your video. Turning on your video would also allow you to change your background. To do this, tap the arrow up icon beside the video icon. Then, choose Virtual Background. You may choose from the given pictures or you may upload an image which you like to use. Now let's take a look at the other options within Zoom. A meeting is not a meeting unless we have other people present. So I'm going to invite some participants. Simply click Invite Others. You can invite through your contacts or through emails. You can also invite people by sharing a URL with them by simply clicking Copy Invite Link. That invitation URL can now be shared to your students. Now I'm going to close this box and I'll show you some other options. If you go to Manage Participants, you can see everyone present in the meeting room. One of the great things about this is that you can mute or even turn off the camera of the participants. So when you are explaining something and there's noise coming from the participants, you can mute them individually or you can just simply mute all by pressing this button. You also have the option to allow participants to unmute themselves. If you don't want that to happen, especially if you're handling young learners, you can just uncheck this option. You will see that there are additional options. You can mute participants upon entry, allow participants to rename themselves, play enter-exit chime, and enable waiting room. This time, let's explore the features that would help us create an engaging learning experience for our students. Let's start with the screen sharing option. Click Share Screen, which is found at the bottom center of the screen. On your desktop, this will open a pop-up with options. Here you can choose any of the screens which are currently open and you can choose which one you will share with your students. Select what you'd like to share and click the blue Share button to proceed. If you choose to present anything with audio, don't forget to check this box which says Share Computer Sound. You can also go to the Advanced option up here. This allows you to share just a small portion of the screen or just the sound only. Then you can also choose some files which you can share with your students. Now let's go back to the basic option. Instead of sharing my screen, I'll share a whiteboard where I and my students can write on. This is a function which other platforms do not have. So when I select whiteboard, now everyone sees my shared whiteboard. Once you're sharing your whiteboard, you can choose from several presentation options from the top menu bar. The menu choices are your annotation tools, which include the ability to use text, a draw tool that lets you draw something freehand or use shapes, a stamp, a spotlight tool for presenting to your viewers, and an eraser. You will also see an option to save your whiteboard screen for later reference, but the only person who can save the whiteboard is the person sharing their screen. If you want to make sure everyone in your meeting can participate and add to the whiteboard, make sure that you have the feature enabled by clicking the More button on the far right of your meeting control bar. You'll see an option here that says Enable or Disable Participants Annotation. What's fun about the whiteboard option is the ability for everyone to share and add to it. So instead of just listening and staring at the screen, students can interact and share their ideas during the class discussion. For example, You'd like to solicit ideas from your students about philosophies of education. You can just type it on the whiteboard and ask your students to type a word that relates to philosophies of education. In the options, you can select Show Name of Annotators so that you will know who among your students have participated. Once you're done using the whiteboard, simply click Stop Share and your meeting is still going on. You can go on with the discussion, and again, you can share any of your materials. You might also want to have some picture game. For instance, spotting a difference. You can just simply share that picture and allow your students to annotate. All these features make Zoom a powerful platform to engage students during online class. Now let's proceed to another feature which creates engaging learning experience in Zoom, the chat feature. This chat is an ongoing group chat. Let's say that you have everyone muted and you're having a discussion. Students can raise their questions using the chat box. One feature of Zoom chat is that you can send a private message to anyone who's in the meeting. You can also send them a file. And here, you will see additional options so you can choose who the participants can chat with. Options are No One, Host Only, Everyone Publicly, and Everyone Publicly and Privately. Another feature in Zoom that allows students collaboration and interaction is the breakout rooms. Breakout rooms feature is very useful when you are teaching a large group. It allows you to split up your group into smaller teams. You as the host can hop from team to team and you can bring everyone back together. Setting it up requires you to go to your settings first. To do this, you have to log into your Zoom account. Click the Settings button and look for the in-meeting settings, in particular the Advanced Meeting setting. Your first option there is to activate the breakout rooms. Simply switch it on. Now that I've activated it, I can now start using the breakout rooms. At the bottom of your screen, you can now see an additional option which is the breakout rooms. You can automatically assign people in the breakout rooms or you can do it manually. If you choose to assign people automatically, you can still change it manually afterwards. For example, there are students in the same breakout room whom you know can't work well together. You can change their groupings afterwards. This time, let's choose automatically. Then click Create Rooms. Here you can have an overview of the breakout rooms. To add a room, just click this button. When you hover over these rooms, you can rename, delete, or assign participants to these rooms. Once you've made these rooms, all you have to do is to click Open All Rooms and your students will be sent to the breakout rooms. Now let's look at the other options. You can move all participants into the breakout rooms automatically, which means that they don't have to manually move. This is great for younger learners. You can also allow the participants to return to the main session at any time, or you can just uncheck that and they have to stay in the breakout room for the duration of time that you set. You can also automatically close the breakout rooms after the time you set it to. You can be notified when time is up, or you can have a countdown after closing the breakout room, which means that you can notify everyone how much time is left before the breakout rooms will be closed. This is really a great feature that allows students to work in a group even without them having met face-to-face. Now let's click the Record button. You will see in the top left corner The meeting is now recorded. You will see different options here. You can pause or stop the recording. Let's say you'll take a break from the meeting, then you can just click pause. If you want to stop the recording, just click the stop button. When you stop your recording but the meeting is still going on, the file won't be converted yet. It will be converted as soon as the meeting ends. That is, if you want to press the record button again, it will generate a new file. Now, if you are ready to end your meeting using Zoom, you simply go to the bottom right corner and click End Meeting. You can end the meeting for everyone, or you can just leave that meeting. When you leave the meeting, the participants can carry on and just have a chat with each other. There you go, it converts the meeting recording to MP4 file. So that's the basic overview of how you can use Zoom in creating engaging learning experiences. Now let's explore Google Meet. Google Meet is a video communication service developed by Google. Anyone with a Google account can use Google Meet and create a video meeting, invite up to 100 participants, and meet up to 60 minutes per meeting. For those who use Google Classroom, you now have an easy option for managing meets with your students. Google has rolled out an update that fully integrates Google Meet with Google Classroom. For each Google Classroom you have, you can now generate a unique Google Meet link for the students in that classroom. Let's take a look at the specifics on how to set this up and how to use this new integration. First, go to the Google Classroom as normal and open up one of your classes. Next, click on the gear icon in the top right corner to access the settings for that class. Now scroll down to the General section of the settings. Here you'll find a setting for Google Meet. Click the button for Generate Meet Link. This will now create a unique Google Meet link for your class. If you don't want your students to have access to the link just yet, you can turn off the setting for visible to students. If you turn on the setting, the link will be accessible in the stream page and classwork page. You can also click on the down arrow next to the Meet link to copy or reset the link if needed. Copying the Meet link is helpful if you want to invite someone who is not part of your classroom, such as another teacher or a guest speaker. When done, click the Save button on the top right-hand corner of the page to save these changes. Now, if you and your students go to that classroom, you can access the Meet link at the top of the stream page, as well as at the top of the classwork page. In addition to being convenient, this is also a special meeting that does not allow the students to join before you or rejoin after you leave the meeting. So that's how integration works between the Google Classroom and the Google Meet. For those who just want to use Google Meet without having the Google Classroom, you can still do so. First, you have to open the Google Meet. To do this, you can click the waffle button at the top right corner of your screen. You'll see Meet as one of the options here. Alternatively, you can simply go to the Meet website at meet.google.com. Once you're there, you can choose to join or start the meeting. Now let's look at how to start the meeting. I'm going to click this button and start my meeting by giving it a nickname. Now I'm going to call it Tutorial 101. As soon as I click continue, I will be asked for permissions. You can see here I have a preview of what the webcam sees. This is a great way to test your audio and video before starting the meeting. If there's something wrong, you can just go to the settings by clicking this three dots icon. This setting allows you to change your microphone as well as your video quality. Now, if you're done setting up your audio and video, just click Done. Once you're ready to start the meeting, click the Join Now button. But if you just want to present your screen without your video, go ahead and click the Present button. This time, I will click the Join Now button. Here we go, we are now in the meeting room. The first thing you'll see is the name and the link of the meeting. If I share this link with the participants, they will have an access to this room. I can also copy the join information, or I can manually add people by adding their email address, and they will receive an email invitation. Now I'll just leave it as it is. For now, I'm going to show you the Meet interface. First, you can mute and unmute yourself, and you can turn on and switch off your camera. When your microphone and camera are turned off, the respective icons are shaded red and crossed out. In addition to that, you have the function of adding captions. If you have difficulty hearing or need help following what's being said, you can click Turn on Caption to display auto-generated text of the conversation. However, the captions are not perfect, and if you record a video meeting, captions are not recorded and won't appear when you play the recording. If you want to see who's in the meeting, go to the top right corner. You can see here two additional buttons. First is the people icon. This gives us the list of all participants in our meeting. A great feature here is that you can choose to remotely mute the participants, turn their camera off, or even remove them from the meeting room. Another thing you can do here is you can pin a participant. The second icon at the top right is the chat icon. Teachers and students can use this feature to raise questions and ideas during discussion. This chat is a public chat, which means that everyone in the meeting room can read and respond to the chat. Aside from using the chat box, we want our students to get engaged without them interrupting the flow of the lesson. In this case, they can just send some reactions. The Google Meet doesn't have a built-in reaction feature. We can activate this by installing an extension called Node extension. To install this, search Node extension for Google Meet. Once installed, you can see its icon on the top right corner of your screen. Now let's go back to Meet. On the upper left corner, you will now see different reaction icons such as the thumbs up, hand raising, clapping hands, waving hand, and other which you and your students can use. Now when anyone clicks an emoticon, it will appear on the lower left corner of the screen, which is visible to all participants. Let's say you are in the middle of the class discussion and your students would like to ask something. They can just use the hand raise icon to get your attention. However, in order for your students to send these emoticons, they also have to install the Node extension. Just like in Zoom, we can also present our screen using Google Meet. When I click this button, I can have the option to present my entire screen or just a window that is currently open. When you present your entire screen, everything you can see on your screen will be shown to everyone in the meeting. If you choose to present your entire screen, you have to give an additional permission. Once you give the additional permission, now your screen is being presented. Once you're done presenting your screen, simply click Stop Presenting and you're back to your webcam view. However, unlike Zoom, Google Meet doesn't have a built-in whiteboard tool yet. But there are many free whiteboard tools which can be used with Google Meet, one of which is the Jamboard. This time, let's take a look at how we can use Jamboard in Google Meet. Jamboard is an interactive digital whiteboard that makes it easy to create and share ideas in real time. You can get this application at jamboard.google.com. Have your Jamboard open in one tab. Now we have here our whiteboard. Once you've opened the Jamboard, don't forget to go back to your Meet screen. Present your screen with a Jamboard by clicking Present Now. Then, choose the window and click Share. Now you can now go back to the Jamboard screen so your students can see what you are writing or drawing. On the upper part of the Jamboard, you will see the background option. This will allow you to change the background of your whiteboard. You can have it with dots, rules, squares, graph, or you may change its color. On the left side, you will see the different tools including a pen, marker, highlighter, brush, as well as color choices. Another tools are the eraser, select tool, and the sticky note tool. Here you can choose from the different colors for your sticky note. Then after adding that sticky note, you can drag it around the whiteboard. Beneath the sticky note is where you can add images. Here you can have different options of pictures which you can present. You can upload, search in Google. You can upload an image from your Google Drive or images in your folder. There's also a laser tool which you can use to point to different places in your screen. Another feature of Jamboard is that you can add multiple pages by simply clicking this arrow up here. But what I want to give more emphasis is its feature that allows for collaboration and interaction among teacher and students. To do this, let's share this whiteboard with the attendees in your Google Meet, just like how you would share any document. Simply click the share button in the upper right corner. Now you can share the jam to specific people by entering their names or email addresses. Or instead of sharing this to specific people, you can get a shareable link so that anyone can access it. At the moment, this jam is private, so we need to change its settings. Now let's choose the option to anyone with the link. Then, choose the option Can Edit. After changing the setting, click Save. You can now copy this link and give it to your students in the Google Meet. Now let's go back to the Meet tab. Click the chat icon, then paste the link of the Jamboard. Now the students can just simply click the link and have access to the Jamboard where they can write and draw with you. If you want to be creative, you can use the Jamboard to make interactive activities like posting a picture and let the students scribble or draw on it, or maybe have a drag and drop activity like this. Now the last feature of Jamboard that I'd like to share with you is the option to download all the whiteboard pages as PDF. Just click the three dots button and choose Download as PDF to have a copy of the notes, which can also be shared to your students. When done using the Jam, don't forget to go back to Google Meet and click Stop Presenting. Back to our main view. On the right part of the screen, click these three dots and you will see more options. In here, you will see the Record option. When you click this button, everyone will be notified that you will be recording the meeting. Then you will see this red icon in the top left corner of the screen. Recording meeting is useful when you want to review the meeting later or share it with the students who couldn't attend the video conferencing. Recordings will be saved to your Google Drive when finished. When you are done with the meeting, simply press this button. So that's the overview on how you can use Google Meet in creating engaging learning experiences. Google Meet will also have more updates in the coming months, such as customizable background, having breakout rooms, generating meeting attendance, including hand raising, and other great features. Aside from Zoom and Google Meet, there are several online tools which we can use in our class. Let me just quickly introduce these tools to you. First on the list is Facebook. Aside from being popular and user-friendly, Facebook is a great tool for open communication, information sharing, and networking. Recently, Facebook has also introduced its own video conferencing service called Messenger Rooms, which allows up to 50 people to video chat at a time. There's no time limit, and you don't even need to have a Facebook account to join a room. It also allows you to share your screen. Next is the Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle is an online tool that allows teachers and students to create interactive online videos by embedding questions, audio notes, audio tracks, or comments on a video. For example, you assign your students to watch a 10-minute video. Then to check whether your students really watch that video, as well as to check whether they understand what they're watching, you can embed questions at a certain part of that video. You can also activate its features that will not allow the students to continue watching without answering the embedded questions. This online tool can be very useful, especially if you choose to present pre-recorded teaching. Edpuzzle interactive videos can be made with videos from a number of websites, including YouTube, National Geographic, Khan Academy, and even videos that you've personally created. Another tool that can make your virtual class interactive is the Pear Deck. Pear Deck is an online tool that turns your presentation slides into interactive activities for your students. It is a Google Slide and PowerPoint add-on that allows you to add open-ended questions, drawings, and others. Then we can also use Kahoot. Kahoot is a popular online tool used to create fun ways to teach students. It can be used for administering quizzes, facilitating discussions, and collecting survey data. It is a game-based classroom response system played in real time. Questions are projected on a shared screen, and players answer the questions with their smartphone or computer, creating a social, fun, and game-like environment. So these are just some of the tools that we can use to have an interactive virtual class. To find out how your students feel about their virtual learning experience, we have our next tip. Ask for feedback on your online teaching. Ask your students what's going well in your class, as well as what's challenging and frustrating about it. You can do this either verbally at the end of the class or by providing a form for them to complete anonymously. You can use the Google form to easily collect this information. By finding out what learning activities students like the most and least about your class, you'll get better at designing lessons that really engage them. Finally, the last tip that I'll share with you, which I think the most important in this time of pandemic, is don't be too hard on yourself. Virtual classroom is an entirely new experience for most of us teachers, and it will take time for us to get used to it, especially for those who are not so techy. Some things that we'll try will work, and some things won't. There's always room for improvement, and there are people who are willing to help us along the way. Now, more than ever, we need to be kind to ourselves to help maintain mental wellness. Remember that when the teacher is happy, the students are happy as well. And when students are happy, they interact better during class activities. As what Susan Gale said, don't be too hard on yourself. There are plenty of people willing to do that for you. Love yourself and be proud of everything that you do. Even mistakes mean you're trying.